Hello, BookTube and Book Talk. Welcome to the next in my series of author interviews. And today we've got a writer who originally comes from Berlin, Germany, but lives in New Zealand. And her name is Janna Ruth. And she's a prolific writer. And I cannot wait to check out what she has to say. So I'm just going to go off and find her. Here she is, and invite her along. And we will get cracking. There you are.
Hey.
Yes, it worked. Woohoo! How you doing?
I'm good.
Good. Is it very late where you are?
Well, 10 o'clock, yeah. So
10 o'clock, that's
PM.
quite it's the first time I've done one in the morning. Time differences can be really complicated. So there we go. I hope you've got a nice glass of wine with you. I've got my tea. And there we go. So, Janna, I was having a little look. You're quite new to TikTok, are you not?
Yeah.
Am I correct in thinking that? So, how did you discover Book Talk? Tell me about that.
Well, I think I started actually in August or so, when the first book of my series came out, and I was like, I heard about Book Talk and what it can do for authors and how you can connect to readers via the Facebook group of 20 books to 50K.
Yes.
And yeah, and that brought me there, but then I didn't really know what to do, so I posted like 3 videos, and then I had like this long break until December when I was like, okay, I'm going to do this in December. I'm going to post a video every day and I'll get started.
Good for you. It's great. And have you been part of, I thought you'd been part in the Mark Dawson's group with TikTok for authors as well. Did you join?
Yeah, I have also been
doing that as well. Yeah. Now we've been flooded with lots of new authors, so we're taking over the world. So I was having a look at your Amazon page. You are a very prolific writer. You've got lots of books out there. How long have you been writing for?
Well, I've basically been writing since I was a little child, if you wanted to ask that, because and even before that I was drawing stories. But I think I've published, it's in March it will be 5 years.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's good. And so many books in 5 years.
You know, it looks a lot, but most of them are from a German series.
Yeah.
Because I think that has like 12 books and then different, box sets and everything. So it looks a bit more than it is.
So is that with a traditional publisher, your German series then, or is that self-published?
No, that's self-published.
That's self-published as well. Yeah. Wow. Because I was reading that you won an award with a German publisher. I thought that's incredible. So do you write in German first, or do you write in English? How do you go about that? That's
yeah. I usually, it depends on the story. Like I write either in English or in German.
Wow.
So it's like I do translations. Actually, that's how I finance my books at the moment.
Brilliant.
But I so far I have translated 1 book of my own. So because it's like it's really hard if no one's paying you to do it and there's no deadline. So I haven't translated my own books as much as I would like to. But so I'm actually writing them either in English or in German, depending on where I want to publish them.
That is incredible. I just think to be able to go back and forth between 2 languages like that is such a talent. And then obviously you've got the skill that you can translate where you need to. So hats off to you. I think that's absolutely brilliant. So for people that don't know you, tell us a little bit about what your books are about and what you write.
Right. Okay. So when I started out, what I liked most was, I do write a lot of fantasy. And what I like about fantasy is that it's basically like a giant sandbox where you can test out humanity and what it means to be human and put them into situations you don't normally find in our world, but really test them, push them to their limits. And now that I've evolved a little bit as a writer, I want to focus on European set urban fantasy, because in 2020? Yeah, in 2020 I was on an urban fantasy panel, and they asked, what do you want to see in urban fantasy? And I was like, well, I actually want to see settings that are not in the US and not London. And then I was like, and that's where my Spirit Seekers came from, for example. It was just from that idea that I want urban fantasy in Europe, but not in London.
No, it's a great idea. And I wonder, do you draw any European myths or things into that as well to kind of,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, I think
yeah, I
that would
did
be
that. Yeah.
incredible. Yeah. Wow. So where have you set these books then? Is it in Berlin or is it across
All
Europe?
right. So I'm just gonna grab them.
Yeah, do show us.
Yeah. Yeah, they're a bit slippery because the laminator at the printer was not working.
Yeah.
So these are just the proofs. So the first one is set in Berlin, which is my hometown.
Yeah.
And now they're the other way around, of course. The second one is in Budapest, which was I traveled there with my family a lot when I was a child, so I really loved that city. The third one is in Dublin, which I haven't actually visited, but I at least had my husband had visited it, so I had a little bit of I had like local proofreaders basically.
Yes.
Fourth one is in Rome, which I visited once and just fell in love with, and I think it's like the best urban fantasy setting ever with all the ruins. And
I mean, yeah, so much history, isn't there?
Yeah, and the last one is in Brussels, which I thought was quite fitting as a European capital, basically. So
yeah, my aunt and uncle lived in Brussels for over 10 years. So I still don't think I know it very well, though, just like their house from their neighborhood. You know?
Yeah, it was quite amazing. If I can just say something about the Brussels book, as I said, I had local proofreaders basically, or local beta readers. And the one that I had for Brussels, because I've never been to Brussels, just my mom has been there work-wise, but oh my gosh, she was so amazing. I opened my email box and she sent me this email with videos and pictures, all like after reading my book, like this, like, oh, if they go like this place, this is what it looks like, and do this, and maybe you can go around the corner and there's this awesome place. And it was so amazing. It was like my own personal travel blog in my
that's amazing to have. Yeah, that, I mean, yeah, to be like you're almost there yourself, it's the next best thing, isn't it? I find it so. I mean, how much research did you do, especially for these books that, you know, for these places that you haven't been to? I mean, I know I've tended to set my books mostly where places I know well, but I was still getting Google Earth out and looking at streets and things like that. So what kind of things did you do for your research about these cities to help?
Yeah, well, of course, the easiest one was Berlin because that was where I lived. But the funny thing was that for years, I didn't want to set a book in Berlin because I thought I wouldn't be able to show the Berlin other people think they know, like, because I always just lived on the outside suburbs and not so much in the center. I mean, of course, I've been to the center, but I haven't lived there. So, and I felt all this, what people thought Berlin was, like this young and sexy and whatever what they said. It was a campaign for a while. I felt like I hadn't actually experienced it that much. But once I wrote that book, I was like, oh, I actually do know a lot of Berlin, and I do have a lot of interesting places to show you that you maybe don't know. And as for the other books, what I did, I was looking on YouTube and I was searching especially for videos that have been made by locals. So not travelers that visited the city or so, but especially locals from those cities and that were showing around the cities. And some towns, like there was an amazing videos for Budapest, and there was also a lot in Rome, of course, and others were a little bit more murky, where I had to like ask around and looking for more blogs and stuff. But the important thing was really to get a local perspective on them.
Yeah, that's a really fab idea. I'd never thought of going onto YouTube and looking at those travel blogs. I think, yeah, because you really get snapshots of real life then, don't you? And the real feel. I think, and then, I mean, obviously you might need a nightclub scene at some point, or, you know, who knows, but that's really great. What a great idea.
For example, I found this awesome blog of a Hungarian who was living in the US and just had this blog about telling people what it's like to be a Hungarian. And they had just this awesome topics like insults in Hungarian, which are so colorful.
Yes,
and
yes.
I had this, and I put some of them in, and it was so great when my Hungarian proofreader was then all like, oh yeah, that's exactly what we will say.
Yeah, yeah, and that's brilliant. Yeah, you get those kudos. Absolutely, you nailed it. Fantastic. Oh, so how long have you been in New Zealand then?
Oh, that's such a complicated story. I think in total, I'm now in my 10th year, but I've lived 6 years in Christchurch and then came back to Germany for 3 years. And then we came back to Wellington in 2018. So, yeah. So short break in Germany.
Yeah. Do you feel that living in New Zealand and having a different perspective and culture has affected how you write?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it always influences you.
Yeah. Wow. What an experience. That's incredible. I haven't been to your part of the world yet.
It's very
beautiful. Far away.
Yes. We have kiwis.
yeah, it's cute. Yeah. I can't quite think of getting myself on a plane for that long, you know.
Like, yeah, it is very long. I mean, right now we're close anyway, so
yes.
So, but but otherwise, it's like 2 days of travel and
I think that's it. I think you know, I've traveled a lot, but just to do that in one go was a lot. I think I'd have to break it up somehow.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's easy. I find it nicer going from New Zealand to Europe because you're going against the time, so you're actually not losing much, and you're basically arriving on the same day, even though you've been around for like time traveling. It's amazing. But the other way around, you lose so much time. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's not fun. I mean, my family's actually American, and I grew up partly in the States. So when we come back to the UK, especially from the West Coast, it feels a bit like that as well. You just kind of lost a whole day, and you're like, you know. And then I think about like the end of our evening, and my nieces are just starting their day and things like that. You know, I just think it's weird. And obviously you're at the end of the day, and I'm at the beginning, so it's
I know. And then always these endless jokes about how's the new year and how's like because you can always be like, oh yeah, we're the time travelers. Yeah, I know what tomorrow is like. Well, I will know in 2 hours.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's quite funny. Yeah. So, what do you have a favorite book that you've written, or a favorite series?
Gosh, I think one of the books is this one here, Time to Remember, which is actually not fantasy at all. But I think it's my most personal book. I can't read it without crying. No, this is about the Christchurch earthquakes, which had their 10-year anniversary last year. And that's when I wrote this book for. And I was in Christchurch during the earthquake, so that's why it was like reliving us and going through all the stories of the people. So
So is it a novel, or is it more of a?
It is a novel. It's a novel. Yeah. Yes, it's
that time.
Yeah, it's I would say it's a coming of age novel, even though the characters are all in their early university years, so they're mostly like about 20. But the themes are definitely a coming of age.
Oh, incredible. Incredible. I mean, I've been in earthquakes, having lived in California, but nothing devastating. So my heart absolutely goes out to those who are caught up, and it's awful and scary. And I just remember having earthquake drills at school, and we had to bring in packs and plastic bags, like tinned food that we put in a trash can in the corner of the classroom, so in case it got it collapsed, we would have access to.
Oh gosh.
It's pretty scary that when you think about that kind of stuff.
It was for me. It was kind of ironic because I came to New Zealand as a geology student, and I specifically came to New Zealand because I was interested in plate tectonics and earthquakes. And Germany is it's quite boring to be a geologist there. And so I specifically came to New Zealand because it was a more active place. And then
and then
thing happened.
Wow.
So
Gosh.
yeah.
And do you still are you still a geologist? Do you still work in that?
No, I stopped in. I actually started my PhD when I came back to Germany. But I realized halfway through that it really wasn't for me. And then when we moved back to New Zealand, quit.
No, I mean, sometimes it just takes a while to realize what your path is, doesn't it? And
it is. It was like I was just so focused on like, oh, you always wanted this. I kept going without realizing that I've had already evolved beyond it, and it wasn't my thing anymore.
Right. You're totally right, because I think when you're at school and you're forced to narrow down these subjects and think about what you want to do at university, and you put yourself on this path, and you think, well, just because I wanted that when I was 15 or 14 or whatever I was, doesn't mean I'm going to want that when I'm 25 or 35 or so. To be able to just take that step and say, actually, I don't want this anymore, is very brave, I think, because obviously you've geared your whole life towards that. So
it was, I mean, honestly, I would say it was the hardest decision in my life that I made. And actually also getting to that decision. I actually did have a bout of depression during that time.
Yeah.
So, and actually I struggled for a year to come to terms with the fact that, yes, let it go. Like, really, let it go. It's not.
And
it instantly improved. So
I think that's probably more of it, isn't it? It's about realizing what you want and then letting that go, and freeing yourself of guilt. You don't need to walk around with guilt in your life, but it's so hard to do.
It is especially because at that point it was like I realized at one point that I wasn't doing it for myself anymore. I was just doing it for the expectations of, my dad, who always wanted me to do this, and my husband, who is also a PhD. Of course, my supervisor, who gave me this project and everything. So
I get that. Well, I'm glad you found your way through it. I'm curious about what you touched on about your bout of depression, because I noticed on your Amazon bio you talk about writing about mental health. I write about mental health as well. So is that because of your own experiences, if I can ask, or how did you come to write that become important to you?
So it was after I came to New Zealand and I did my master's and I finished it. I couldn't immediately go into a PhD, and I had to get a job. And I randomly ended up at the Disability Resource Service of the university, and was doing all the admin work for them. And I've worked there for 3 years, and it literally changed so much for me, just being exposed to all the different kind of physical and mental disabilities, and teaching we had lots of casual staff that I was teaching on how to deal with their students that they were working with and stuff. And it just widened my horizons. And ever since I'm noticing these things when I walk around the city, and like, oh yeah, well, that's not accessible. Like, this is not accessible. And and all these things. And since then, it has had a major influence on my writing, as I'm, like I said, I'm more interested in that human condition, even if I'm writing fantasy.
And in some ways I think that's the best place to explore these things, because I write fantasy and science fiction, horror and all that, and I think it just gives you that much more freedom to explore it in those settings without shoving it in a reader's face, or without it being issue driven. You can explore these topics at a safe distance, I think, or a safer distance for those that might identify or be triggered or things like that. And I think it's the perfect place to put these issues. It's funny that you walk around thinking that about accessibility in places, because my husband and I went on a honeymoon to China, and I've got to say, there's no accessibility in China. And one of their beliefs is that the higher the step over your threshold, the more important you are as a person who lives there. So there's no ramps, there's nothing. And, as you travel around, it's just, we actually had in our tour, we had one lady who was in a wheelchair she could walk, but she was having back problems. But she was being pulled around by ropes attached to her wheelchair and picked up and put over things. And it was incredible, the lack of thought I had thought at that time. Maybe it's changed. So So we'll say none in Japan either. Yeah, some of these cities just aren't equipped for it at all, and it's heartbreaking, actually. I think there's opportunity exposed to people. Yeah.
I had the same when I came back to Germany, and we were living in Potsdam, and the main the city hall where you have to go to get your passports, to all the stuff you have to do at city hall, and they have stairs, like big stairs, and if you like come with a pram or you come with a wheelchair or anything, you have to go on the side entry, then through the entire building or to the other side, to the back. There's an elevator, then walk through, and it's like it's such an insane.
Do you know, I remember the days of having a pram and small children, and my husband and I lifting it up steps and down rather than going to find the elevator, which was a mile away or something like that, because it's just not convenient.
I had a good stair technique how to do it.
And then going down, bump, you know.
It's good for the arm muscles.
And then trying to do it, I was always too afraid on an escalator. My husband always had to do it, but he would take the pram down on an escalator. And I've always been a little bit scared of escalators, so because I was afraid I would just let go and wouldn't be able to hold it, you know. So I was like, no, don't get me on an escalator with a pram. So
no, I did that.
So so tell me about how you write. Are you a plotter or a pencil, or how do you approach writing a new book?
I'm a plotter all the way through. I don't start writing I don't start writing until I have like a scene plan, and that scene plan may change when I am writing and feeling like, okay, this doesn't quite work or something, but not much. It's I'm not like I really don't know how discovery writers are doing it. Like, my biggest respect to them. I have no idea how they
I mean, it must be really fun in a way, because the story kind of unfolds as you go, and you don't know any more than your main character, maybe.
That's true. And it is, I have to say that writing itself, I mean, a lot of the details I actually make up while I'm writing. So there is a little bit of discovery as well.
Yes.
So, but I have to say that writing itself is my least favorite bit of it. I love the plotting and I love editing, which makes me a bit special, I think, because most people hate editing, but I love
writing.
Editing
is my favorite part. I bang on about this on TikTok all the time, how much I love writing a first draft. And but I think I only enjoy that because I plot, and I do like the plotting stage as well. I love growing the ideas and thinking. And I love just seeing it, because I've spent a few months thinking, plotting, before I actually get to write. So when I get to write, I'm like, oh, it's all happening. I'm really excited. Editing for me is just like, I can't see the wood for the trees sometimes. So I second guess myself. So hats off to you for loving editing, because, I respect that. I need to feel that more.
It's just, editing makes me so excited, because after I've written, I've got like this raw diamond, but when I do the editing and push things around and find new connections and stuff, I really feel like I can see how it becomes a book and how it becomes like polished, and that just excites me so much. So that's why I love editing.
I think that's great. For me, I worry that I'm going to make the wrong connections or take the wrong thing out. So I always need someone to tell me what to do. That's why I need like my agent or critique partners to say that bit's not working, because if I try and do it myself, I second guess myself. So as long as someone tells me what to do, then I'm okay. I can do it. And I'm just doing a developmental edit at the moment. So but I know what I'm doing. I've got a plan. So let's hope. Wow, that's fantastic. And so what do you have any particular method to plot, or have you built your own method over the years, or?
So the most important thing for me is the characters. Obviously, I do write character-driven stories, so it's all about the characters, and they just dictate the plot in the end. And I think I basically mostly adapted violence method, which is, for example, there's a characters to have that want, need, lie, and ghost.
Yes.
So
yes,
that's my favorite one. And I feel that really gives me a lot. I feel like it gives me a lot about actually who that character is and what motivates them. and I really love playing, especially with that dichotomy of want and need. Like, what do they want, but what do they actually need? And the best stories, of course, are when they are opposed to each other. So while they are
that's what I say all
going
the time.
for the want.
I love it.
Yeah. So those are the best ones, when you're going for the want and it actually takes you further away from the need. And that's the best.
Yeah, I don't start until I have that firmly in my head, you know, and then throw more conflict at it as well. So it sounds like we approach things in a quite similar way, which is lovely, because, you know, everyone does it differently, don't they? So it's good. And so how long does it take you to write a book?
I'm one of those very fast ones. So it depends a little bit. I'm very good with deadlines. So that's why, for example, taking part in NaNoWriMo usually means I can write. Last November, I wrote 200,000 words. So that was 2 books.
Wow.
So that was definitely the fastest I've ever done. So, but usually it depends a little. Like I would say, like a standard 75,000 book, that would be about a month.
I think we're quite similar. I do, once and this is what I think once you have something plotted, at least for me, then it's just the words are filling in the blanks almost.
Exactly.
And then you can move much faster. And I love losing myself in, you know, a high word count while I'm drafting, and just that's incredible. Yay! Wow, fantastic. So does editing take you longer then?
I'm working on streamlining it. Like, I found something when I was doing the series, I actually managed to cut out one phase, which was like, because I realized I was doing like double the work at one point. So one of the things with editing that's really important for me is to let the book lie around for at least a month before I touch it. And then I want it printed out, and I read it just on paper, and I mark down everything that I don't like or like. I put little smileys on the side. And that usually, again, depends on how high the word count is. That reading takes a couple of days. And then what I did cut out now was that that I now will really just go by what I noted down. So I'm fixing the big things. I'm fixing what's wrong with the complete manuscript. And then I really just go from like, where did I underline something? Where did I, instead of reading the whole thing again? So I'm learning to trust my reading skills. So trusting that first bit. And then it gets to the test readers. And then when it comes back from the test readers and I put everything of their input in, then I will actually read it again, and I do all the style and then go through. So I do have, like, now I'm down to 2 passes. So, but even with that, it takes about 2 to 3 months until I'm done with it. Because
I think that's still pretty fast. And I think those rest periods are so important. And that's something, I mean, because I'm like you, when I write quickly, I'm like, come on, you know, edit and get it done. And my agent keeps telling me to slow down and let it rest, because you do need to come at it with fresh eyes, because the problems will pop out at you so much clearer the longer you leave it.
Definitely.
So I'm trying to be better at that. So I'm trying to write whole different novels between my rest stages, so that I can alternate and have enough time between those periods.
So the 1 month is like my minimum rule, but most of the time it's much more.
Wow, that's incredible. So have you got more books in this series coming, or is 5? It's a 5. Is 5?
It's a 5-book series. So the Spirit Seekers, they are complete since the 7th of March. So there's the only thing that will be coming is 2 more short stories. But those are scheduled for Christmas. So
nice. And is it the same character in all 5 books, or is it a different character?
It's the same character, same group of people. And I find reasons why they have to go to other cities.
Wow, that's great. I can't wait to check it out. I'm excited. And so what's next after that? Do you have a plan?
So we talked a little bit about my German series. Ashuan, and Ashuan and I'm actually going to do an English version of that. And I don't really want to say it's a translation because Ashuan is a bit special. So I've been working on Ashuan for almost 20 years now. So I started when I was 17. And when I and my best friend developed it, we were big Buffy fans, and we wanted to write something similar. and for some reason we decided to write it like a TV script and like a TV series. Okay. So 3 years ago I published it exactly like that. So while it is a book, it's still just dialogues and action. and it was like so, and that was I love it that way. I love the quick fire dialogues, and I mean, because I've been writing Ashwan for 20 years basically, I'm really good at dialogues. Because that's what I learned. I learned how to convey whole like moods and subtext and all the emotions in dialogue. So but the problem was like there were a few people who gave it an honest try, and if they read the first episode, they were hooked. Like they were like, oh yeah, this is like a movie in my head. It's amazing. It's like I want more. But the problem was getting people to give it a try, because the threshold was like up here. It was like they opened the book, they looked at it and was like, what is this? And
I think it sounds fantastic. And I think it's all ready for a Netflix producer, you know. You've got a screenplay, so you know, woohoo! I think it sounds really, really good. So when you put it in English, I will be reading it. I'm sorry, I don't read German. Because I would love that. I love reading things differently.
So but the thing is, I think that's great. So now that I'm doing it in English, I'm actually trying my hand at a novelization. So so I do have the first episode in English because I once did that for a producer around here, which never amounted to anything, but it was so exciting for 2 minutes. So I do have, and I will probably publish those in my newsletter and just have them as gimmicks for my subscribers. But as for marketing, I think I really need to bite the bullet and go with the novelization. And that's what I'm currently writing. So I'm 80,000 words into the first book. So
because you've got quite a lot of books in that series, don't you?
So the thing is that, as I said, it's like with it was written with a TV series in mind, and was one of the early 2000s, so with 24 episodes per season, and each of those seasons are basically 6 books with and each of the books have 4 episodes. So I do have the biggest respect for book adaptations, and because lots of people say, oh yeah, it wasn't like the book, or it wasn't, and it's like it can't be, because you can't adapt a book to TV without changing anything, because you need to, because it is a different media, it works differently. And I'm learning this again now that I'm actually doing this basically TV script into a book, because not everything works. I have to kill so many scenes, which I'm really sad about. Also, because it's 24 episodes, I actually had to make the choice, like, okay, I can't have them all. Like, I can't write a book where it's like, that's episodic, I'm pulling things together, pulling storylines together, deciding like, I'm taking the monster from this episode, but I'm taking the emotional conflict from this. And
that's a lot. Because obviously your book's going to get longer as you wow. Because I know I have a friend who's a film producer, and she keeps trying to get me to write the script to one of my books, so I'm doing a screenwriting course. But I do think, like one of my favorite book adaptations, books and movies, are the Hunger Games, and I kind of think there are bits that they leave out, but you don't have the space to put everything for a movie. You've got 120 pages max, and you've got to get everything in, and so some of the subplots and the small things just have to go. So that's why the movies are never as good as the books, because they just can't.
But I also think other way around. Like, for example, I've read a couple of books that were written after the movie or the TV series was done, and I found them always to be quite lacking, because they didn't actually add anything to the story, because they were written just by someone who watched the movie basically, and they didn't develop the characters any further. There weren't any extra scenes and stuff, and so I find these quite meager. And there's lots of things that you have in TV that don't work in a book. For example,
I think one of the things.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just going to say, one of the things that books do tackle is emotion, which you can't always get across, because we have internal thought in books. We don't have that in movies. All you can get is a longing look, and you wonder what the character's thinking. But obviously,
it's with false and rises.
You go so much deeper, don't you? Yeah, I think so.
But one of the things that I especially loved about writing Ashran as a series, and I'm still writing the German thing. I will continue that for the 5 people that love it, because it doesn't cost me anything in German. Like it basically just costs me the covers. Those are covered by Patreon, so that's I'm just going to continue that. But what I really love about that series is the ability to write scenes and cut them, and have them. Basically, you have all these little scenes that you cut at just the right minute, and you can't really do that in books so much. Like you can't. That would be a totally chopped up book, and you can't change the point of view so often. So you kind of have to stick to a little bit. So no, I can't show you my villain what he's doing right now, because it might be interesting in the series, but not so much in the book. Like sparingly, so I could do it sparingly.
I'm fascinated by this. So you say you've got a point of view. So you've written it like a screenplay, effectively. Is there a point of view in a screenplay? I'm so new to screenwriting. I don't really know.
No, there's not a point of view, but there are scenes where people are present. So I do have some. So, for example, I've decided to do it now with because the funny thing was, so we started with like, we want to do it like Buffy. You do the main character, and we do this and this. And then it was like, and the main character lasted about 1 episode, and then we did the second episode, and then suddenly we had 6 main characters. So that didn't work out very well. And so I've decided for the books that I will do 6 point of views.
Okay.
And I will have these 6 characters. A little bit like, like, no, I just can't get on it. But so those, but there are scenes in the series where none of those 6 characters are present, because you have something with side characters, or you have the villain with something else or something, and you can't show that.
No. Yeah. Good luck with that. So is it vampires?
It's demons.
Or angels? Demons. Okay. So I'm looking at the wings, and some of the covers look much darker than other ones.
You're probably looking at season 1 and season 2. So the ones with a green background are season 1, and the ones with a red background are season 2.
Right. It all kicks off in season 2, does it?
Yeah, totally. There's lots of things happening in hell. It's my favorite season.
Wow. And romance? I'm thinking there's romance in it.
There's lots of romance. I mean, it is basically very similar to Buffy in the way that it starts at high school, and you have like 6 high schoolers navigating life and monsters. So there will be different relationships, and I think that's one of the things that might be different to normal books. Like there won't be a designated relationship like from the beginning or something. Like they will actually have different relationships.
I like that. I like that a lot. It's normal, and it shows growth, I think. So wow, I think this is incredible. I'm so glad that we have met each other and I've learned about your books, because I wish I could read German. But I cannot wait until you start releasing the novels, because it sounds right up my street. It's exactly the kind of thing that I would read.
I'll let you know when it's time.
I'm
thinking currently about mid-late May for the first book. So
that's not too long. I can wait.
It's not too long.
Brilliant. So let's talk a little bit about marketing. What do you do to market your books? Do you have, talk me through your strategy.
I'm still learning, I
Yeah.
have to say. When I started out, I did a lot of personal marketing. So lots of social media events. I reached out to a lot of bloggers, and the thing is, I got to know the German bloggers very well. So I got this huge, well, I once had a huge network. I don't no longer have it, but I once had this huge network of bloggers, and I came up with like really creative ideas that sometimes were about my books when I was a release, but also like for all kinds of, like, for example, I did Olympic Winter Games for books. So it was like so and such things. I really love to be creative with marketing. For the release of Ashwan 2, I think we did those game books where you start an adventure and you choose the parcel. And I did that with bloggers. So each, like, I had, I think, 42 bloggers or so, and then each of them had a station and they linked to each other. So you could.
That's so cool. Yeah.
So that was really cool, and it worked quite well on the German market. But now that I've only started really on the English market last year. So Time to Remember was different again, because it was really marketed at local New Zealanders. So I actually got a publicist for that one, and I got to do radio interviews, which that was so cool. Really great experiences, and got into newspapers that were lying around all the country. So that was an interesting experience. A lot of money for it didn't sell that good. It was good. It was I think I did reasonably for the tiny New Zealand market. But it did not recover the costs. Put into it. But because it was such a personal book, I just was like, okay, whatever. It's a hobby.
But you needed that for your own journey. So,
exactly. So and it was just so important for me to get it out and to actually make it as perfect as I can. So and then with the Spirit Seekers, that was basically what I wanted to be my restart, because by then I basically, my Amazon line looks like this, So there wasn't much happening unless someone accidentally bought my books. So then I started being part of the 20 books to 50K group and reading all through that and trying to strategize a little bit more. So with the Spirit Seekers, I did the rapid release strategy. I've started dabbling with ads, but I definitely have to do more of Mark Dawson's course.
I know.
I've got it, but taking the time to do it.
It is. I think I do up all the ads and I follow the course, and I've gone through that Amazon course so many times now, but there's new content coming, because I posted in the group the other day and I said, you're taking a campaign that's profitable. I want to see what you do with one that's not, like mine. So they are working on that, because and I'm a math person as well, but I don't know what to do with the data. I don't know what's working, what's not. So my ads work, but they're not working well enough. And it's not so I need more it's really
that's something that I'm still figuring out, and that that's one of the plans for this year, to actually figure this out better and do some more, do some ads that actually come back with a ROI that makes them work.
I have this inkling that it works better for some genres like romance and crime.
Oh yes.
Than others. Which
but
one of the
I mean, there's
enough
fantasy authors that can do it, so why not we?
But that's one of the reasons I went onto TikTok, because I thought that's where my readership is. Let's get the word. Let's get the word out. That kind of thing. So, and I love connecting with other authors and readers, and I don't have a lot of I don't have a lot of bookish people in my household, so I need those people on social media.
Yes, definitely. And also the thing is, what I do like about TikTok is, like, for example, I don't actually like doing videos of myself, but I feel like in TikTok I don't like the threshold is much lower. I don't know, because it's because you can be really your authentic self. Like, it's not, on Instagram it always has to look great or something. It has to look fantastic or something. And on Facebook you have to really do lots of pack value into there, and TikTok, you can just be yourself. You can be funny. You can just have a quick little snapshot of your life or struggles or joke around. And it makes it so much easier.
Agree. Yeah, and once I discovered the makeup, enhancement as well, I never had to put makeup on again either.
Yes,
so that's great. Yeah, but I think you're right. It's just, and I think it's an app built around being genuine and authentic. And I think if people see you're not being that, or you're trying too hard, or you're being something that you're not, you can see it. It smacks of awkwardness. So no matter who you are as an author, just be who you are, and then they will come. The connections will be there.
Yeah.
So.
And I mean,
absolutely.
So far there hasn't been like a huge event, but it's slowly getting more. I can see that they're getting more views, they're getting more interaction. It's building up, and I think that's the other thing that I like about TikTok is it's not like you can still do things even if you don't have many followers. Like it doesn't limit you in like, okay, you only get you only go viral if you have 100,000 followers or something. No, you can be lucky.
Yeah, you can be. I never am, but you can be.
I haven't been.
No,
I've
never
had a spectacular fail
on any social media platform. So I'm just one of those plodders at the back,
But I just keep going. They come one by one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. No, actually, I had one spectacular fail video where it actually went up very quickly to just 2,000, so it's not much, but for me at that point it was much, because I was like, 200, and then this one went up to 2,000. But it completely got caught in the New Zealand bubble, which wasn't the BookTok bubble. It got caught in the New Zealand bubble. Yeah, great. That didn't help me at all. Because I had all these people from New Zealand commenting. It's like, cool.
And you never know what's going to go. I mean, usually my better views are ones where I'm in it. And one I posted the other day about, I did a short little snippet of Word reading aloud my manuscript to me before it goes back to my agent for like 5 seconds. And that's still ticking over. And I'm thinking, who knows?
Who knows? Exactly.
I don't know.
I just keep
Yeah, exactly. So what are you reading at the moment?
I have just started with Annette Marie's Guild Codex series.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know that.
Oh yes. It's really enjoyable because the thing is I don't read as much as I want to, because I'm spending all my time writing. Like I'm writing up to midnight or something, and then if I want to read, it's really like, okay, I'm scheduling, like I'm going to read for 20 minutes before I go to sleep or something. So, but no, I've actually been really good this year compared to the last 2 years. I've read a couple of German books. I'm not gonna say much about those because you sadly can't read them. But yeah, no, so one of the things is that I can't really deal very well with series that don't start off really quick. Like, when you have people like, oh yeah, the first book isn't that great, just keep reading, it gets better in book 3 or 4. It's like,
no,
the time. No, sorry, no. And I'm really glad that Annette Marie's book got recommended to me, and because I saw it quite often, and it's fun from the first minute. It's like it's really fun and enjoyable, and so really glad about that.
I think that's why I read predominantly young adult, because I don't want to waste 50% of the book getting into it. It's just, and young adult delivers that. You're in the story.
That's right.
I much prefer that. And some of these I just find adult authors seem to get away with things that young adult authors are not allowed to get away with, like showing and telling, and like whiny introspective monologues, and I could care less. I really couldn't. So
that's true. I do read more YA. And I mean, it also has to do with my secret love affair with coming of age. So I do write fantasy most of my time, and then I always have to squeeze in a coming of age novel, just a normal contemporary one.
Yeah, but that's what young adult is. It is coming of age. So
I just loved it. I just loved this finding yourself and finding out where you belong. And
absolutely. I agree.
But,
right, we got a few fun questions for the end. As a writer, what would you choose as your spirit animal?
Can you just kiwi?
Yeah.
He at least is night active like me, so
yes,
I think that's a very good choice.
Yes, I think so,
because I write most at night.
Yes, I write during the day just because of school hours, but I am a night owl.
I do work. I do my translations while the kids are at school and start writing, but then the main part comes after they're in bed.
Right, if you could drink one drink and eat one meal for the rest of your life, what would it be?
I think as a drink, it would, it's very hard, especially because most of the things that I like to eat, I shouldn't eat it, especially not every day.
This is totally not a healthy question. You can have what you want.
Not a healthy question. I think I would go with raclette then. Have something with cheese. It has to be cheese. And for drink, I love iced tea. So.
Oh, see, I like hot tea, but I went for
But I do too. But I think if I had to choose one drink for the rest of my life, it would be iced tea. Peach.
Yeah. Peach. Well, that's the thing. I actually don't like iced tea unless it's flavored. I think it must be brewed stronger than I like it. I don't know. Yeah, it's funny, but peach is nice. I like that. We don't actually have much iced tea here. Yeah,
I know which one. If I can't access it that well, but I've been to Japan for 3 weeks a couple of years ago, and they have this peach juice, and it's just to die for. So if I can access that for the rest of my life,
that would be that one. There you go. I love it. Excellent. Okay, do you have any pets?
I don't. I'm allergic. I've got lots of cuddle toys, so
yeah, that makes sense, right? They're your pets. Would you choose Marvel or DC movies, or give to an alien?
So, and it's a trilogy that makes nice.
But you can have. I mean, a trilogy that can just be one book, because it's a trilogy. So you could take other things.
Okay. So if I take the trilogy, then I would also take the Great Coat Saga of Sebastian de Castell.
Okay.
Which is really awesome. Which is like a fantasy Three Musketeers with all the humor. It's awesome. And I'm not sure what the third one would be.
Yeah. You don't need it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I forget.
What about an alien? Would you give him something different, or
an alien?
What do you want them to know about our planet?
That's really difficult. I think I have to think too much about it.
It is hard. It is hard. It's
too hard. It's too late for that.
I said the Bible, and then I immediately took that back because I thought, actually, no, there's war and horrible things. Don't learn the Bible.
No, I wouldn't give that.
No, right. Your last question, and then you can go to bed or go right if that's what you're going to do. Have you got any talent that would help you survive the Hunger Games?
Oh gosh. It's interesting. I'm just thinking. I have some secret talents, but I mean, I can cook, so that's quite helpful to to get food. I mean, as a geologist, I did lots of field work, and so I know my way around, terrain without
landscape.
passes, and so that's quite good.
I think that's probably really helpful. Yeah. Like, would you be able to find water, for instance?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, water is quite abundant, I have to say. So, I mean, depends
maybe
on
not in the Hunger Games,
Maybe,
but
I think it depends on how they design the arena.
If
they do like this big desert, then okay,
Yeah,
tough
that would be
luck.
hard. Yeah. I don't even have confidence in my abilities to find water, actually. I really need to go back to survival school, I think. My kids know a lot more than I do, because I send them to like I've sent them to forest school camps.
And I know mushrooms pretty well, so I can look mushrooms.
Yeah. Don't eat the red ones.
Yeah, I know that. No, but I mean, I know actually quite a lot that are edible, which is very funny in New Zealand, because if you pick mushrooms here, everyone is like, oh, what are you doing? You don't know.
Funny.
No, it's
How
fine.
funny.
It's an edible mushroom.
Yeah, I wouldn't have a clue. I would, yeah. No, I would be very bad about foraging in the wild. I'd have to hunt meat with my lack of bow and arrow skills, and
you just throw books at them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I like that. All right, my lovely. I'm going to let you go so you can get on with your evening. Thank you for coming to chat with me. It has been so fun getting to know you and learning about your books. And I hope we can do this again. If you want to come back on the show when you've got a new book out or something, do just say, and we'll have you back on. And yeah, it's been wonderful. So I will let you go, and we'll do it again soon.
Oh, thank you very much for having me. It was very fun.
Yeah, all right. Until next time. Okay, and that was Janna Ruth, everyone. What a lovely human and author. I mean, her books sound incredible. So she has got one series in English. The other one is in German, which she is going to be translating into English novels. So look out for those. And if you would like to be the star of the chat show, please do go to the link tree in my bio and